Christina, aka Miss WC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So in December, I kept saying how I'm having trouble finding books that really speak to me, books that I'm really anticipating for 2025. A lot of the stuff, it was just sounding very samey, and I was like asking you guys, like, what are you guys into? What are you guys highly anticipating? Again, it was a struggle. I've since found some books since then, and I wanted to give you guys 5 that are coming up that I am just ready for. The first is Miss V's Hot Girl Summer by A.H. Cunningham. I read my first A.H. Cunningham book last year. She's now writing for Harlequin's Afterglow line. And this one is another one coming from Afterglow that has some of my buzzwords in it. For the last 16 years, Trinidad Velasquez has done everything right. Raised her twin sons on her own, worked her butt off, and created a stable life. But Trinidad is done waiting for a happy ending to show up at her door. And when her current boyfriend proposes, she can't help but wonder if, at her age, love should be practical, not butterflies and heart-racing chemistry. But then her teenage sons trick her into a Caribbean carnival vacation, and she finds herself staying with the one guy who's always revved up her engine, even if he's a decade south of her dating range. Orlando Wiggins has never been able to take his eyes off Miss V. He's mentored her boys for 2 years, and she's never suggested there could be more. But at Carnival, between the sensual dancing, heated looks, and electric touches, whatever he's feeling for her is definitely reciprocated. Now Trinidad is having the time of her life. Every cell in her body is charged, alive. But will this version of who she's become stick around for the return to real life? So the last one I read from her was like a vacation romance, and it sounds like this is a vacation romance as well. Something interesting that I found she did in her last book was kind of show you, okay, vacation's over and now what? Because not a lot of authors typically explore that. Like I said, Carnival, it has an older protagonist. I want it. I need it. The Love Similation by Etta Easton. So I read my first Etta Easton book as well last year. It was one of my favorite reads of 2024, and it was her debut. So this being her second book, I'm really curious to see if she keeps up the same momentum. Brianna Rogers has been told a time, or 6, she needs to stop jumping into things head first. But when the principal rescinds his approval for a library upgrade, deciding to spend the money on a football field instead, she sees red. Literally. Brianna throws her hat in the ring and joins a team of teachers who will spend their summer in a Mars simulation. As the sister of an astronaut, this should be easy, right? What she didn't count on was the last-minute addition to her team. Roman Major, science teacher, son of the principal, and too handsome for his own good. Roman and Brianna have been hot and cold all year, and living in close quarters intensifies their animosity and attraction. Brianna is sure he's been sent by his father to sabotage them, foiling their chance at prize money that will cover all of the school's actual needs. But each day, Roman proves himself to be a dedicated teammate, and Brianna finds herself falling harder and harder. While it's clear the feeling is mutual, she can't shake the sense that he's hiding something. As the simulation nears its end, Brianna realizes she may have to make an impossible choice between the school she's dedicated herself to and the man who has won his way into her heart. So I love that she's still going with the space theme, because that's just something that has fascinated me, and you don't see a lot of Black people in that environment, in the media. And I love that it's a romance between two people in academics. And of course, like I said, I loved her first book, so I really want to see what book 2 gives. Blood Slaves by Markus Redmond. So before I start, I know what you guys are thinking. Like, slavery? I've been asking for more stories that are like magical but slave rebellion. I love a good historical fantasy. I don't mind a little bit of violence in that context if we're fighting back. I hate racism-centered stories where we're mostly passive and just getting piled on. So the whole concept of this was right up my alley. What if nobody ever freed the slaves? Because they freed themselves 150 years before the Civil War. In the province of Carolina, 1710, freedom seems unattainable for Willie, for his beloved Gertie, and for their unborn child. They live, suffer, and toil under their brutal master, James Big Jim Barrow, whose grand plantation was built by the blood, sweat, and tears of the enslaved. To flee this hell on earth is to be hunted and killed, until one strange night Willie is offered a dark hope by Rafazi, an enigmatic slave with an irresistible and blood-chilling path to liberation. Hailing from the Kingdom of Ghana, Rafazi is the lone survivor of the Ramanga, an African vampire tribe rendered nearly extinct by plague. Rafazi has roamed the world for centuries with an undying desire to replenish the power that once defined his heritage. In Willie, Rafazi has found his first biddable subject to be turned and to help in a hungry revolt, and Willie desires nothing more than to free his people from malicious bondage, whatever it takes. One by one, as an army of blood slaves thirsting for revenge is gathered, the headstrong Gertie fears that no good can come from the vampiric legacy that courses through Rafazi's veins. Willie knows that only evil can fight evil, and when the woman he loves stands between the reemergence of the Ramanga and the justified slaughter of the oppressors, Willie must make an irreversible decision. Only one thing is certain: on the Barrow plantation and beyond, blood will spill. So that really piqued my interest, and I shared it with a couple of friends. A couple of them were like, they had some questions about that last paragraph as far as with his, like, the woman he loves. I'm like, well, if she gotta die, she gotta die. But we will see how it goes. And like I said, this is one of the few fantasies that has really stood out to me this year. And the cover is sick. Like, it's doing what it needs to do. The synopsis piqued my interest. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get an arc so I can read it early and let you guys know what it's all about. Switching gears to This Is Not a Ghost Story by Amerie. So you all know Amerie as the singer of One Thing. She kind of like was able to reinvent herself through BookTube, and she started a book club. She is an author now. She's written some short stories in YA, and I believe also a picture book. But this is her first adult novel, and even though I didn't love her short like YA story that I did read, I am extremely curious about this one just because the premise just sounds so good. John's house provides all he needs. Surrounded by a vast, beautiful ocean under a void of sky, the house is John's haven. He is alone, but never lonely. He is here now, but neither remembers nor longs for before. In his house, John is safe and untroubled. But then a terrible shadow creature breaks in. and it wants him out. Pushed from the house, John falls into the light, and finds himself in modern-day Los Angeles, the first person to ever come back from the other side. Though he has no memory of his past life, or even how he died, everyone wants to know more about the black man who has returned from the dead. Is he the second coming? A hoax? Or something beyond explanation? Soon he has brand deals, TV interviews, and politicians aiming to use him for their agendas. Yet all John wants is to go home. But going home will require, most unfortunately, help. In search of a way back, John grudgingly joins forces with a mystic holding dubious qualifications, a hard-edged publicist bent on making him famous, and an aspiring actress who is unsettlingly familiar. With this ragtag band of allies, John begins a journey to find his house on the ocean. But getting there will prove more complicated than he imagined, for it will require not only trusting in someone other than himself, but will mean uncovering painful truths about who John was in life, and perhaps most difficult, who he must become. So I was listening to her talk about it on a YouTube video, and I'm just like, you know what, this sounds interesting, I'll give it a go. I want to just let you guys know this is not like a fantasy or sci-fi or anything like that. This is a literary fiction novel, so if it does sound intriguing to you, adjust your expectations accordingly, because it's going to read different than what you assume. But this sounds like a really good story. This is something I was like, I would read this, I would watch this, I need to get this. Last but certainly not least, The Ghost of Gwendolyn Montgomery by Clarence A. Haynes. So I had been scrolling on Edelweiss recently when I saw this, and I actually met Clarence A. Haynes last year at a Black History Month book event. He was super chill, really cool, great to talk to, gave a little bit of insight about publishing to me and a friend. And when I saw this while scrolling, I'm like, ooh, this already sounds good. But then I recognized the name and I'm like, okay, this is a sign that I definitely have to pick this one up. To be a client of Gwendolyn Montgomery's, New York's most powerful publicist at Sublime Media, is to be infused with a certain oomph, a mysterious glamour. She seems to have created the ideal life with her handsome new boyfriend, the perfect match. But Gwendolyn has a secret. She's a mystical practitioner who can tap into the interdimensional, metaphysical realm of the dead known as El Intermedio. Gwendolyn has hidden her powers, buried her old life, and started anew. After a grisly, bizarre incident at the Brooklyn Museum, Gwendolyn begins to realize that something nefarious is happening, tied directly to her past right as Fonzie Harewood comes back into her world. Fonzie is a queer Latinx physic from the South Bronx who's caught up in a love triangle with a ghost and his mortal ex. He's able to communicate with the dead, having established a robust business interpreting messages from departed loved ones. And he comes with a dire warning for Gwendolyn, that the barrier between humans and spirits is weakening. Gwendolyn would prefer not to have anything to do with ghostly drama. Yet in order to get to the bottom of the spookiness derailing her life, she must face the demons she'd long left behind, or the spirit world will be unleashed, threatening her very existence and all of New York. So, if you've been following me for a while, you know I've really been asking for more Black urban fantasy, especially in the adult space. So this was right up my alley. It has a really unique premise I haven't been seeing recently. In a landscape of dark academia and romantasy. So, like I said, I am patiently waiting and really hopeful. So, those are 5 anticipated books by Black authors that I'm excited about. Let me know in the comments section if there's any that you're hype about, any that you think I should pick up. And if you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!